Hi, everyone. Um, Welcome to the plenary session for our 2020 convention. We're excited about this new format that we're using for this year. We've already had some committees meet and their committees in their committee only sessions. We have, this is exciting for us. We already have over 300 delegates and guests signed up for this year's convention. Tonight we'll be going over the VVoter software, and this is the time for you to ask questions about resolutions. Now, obviously it's 5:05 here, and I'm still fielding calls for folks getting on. So just please remember, this is the first time for many of us to handle the plenary and the entire convention, for that matter, in this virtual format. So please bear with us. If you wish to ask a question about a resolution, please raise your hand and you will be unmuted. Now I'm supposed to say, Penny, take it away, but Penny's not on, so I'm going to take it away. And Leslie. So if you have your hand up, I'm going to ask you to take it down and put it up when we talk about resolutions. Oh, you guys are so good. You're doing what I'm telling you. Thank you. So this is our virtual convention, plenary and voting training session for 2020. The plenary facilitators are Penny Wardlaw, Charles Bass, Karen Homer Brown, Carol Farmer, our parliamentarian, Leslie Lockard, and Mark Veit, who is going to give you your VVoter training. VVoter training and instructions are with Mark Veit. We'll have a brief practice. We have not submitted to him the delegates that are signed up, so we won't have a live practice, but he can show you some ins and outs of it a little bit. We will discuss the plenary purpose and guidelines, then discuss resolutions and delegate instructions, and then any questions you may have. We'll also briefly go over what we're doing with the actual GRIT logon. So VVoter is a software tool that equips meeting attendees to vote and participate using either your smartphone, your tablets, or your computers. It is secure, powerful, and private. Polling results and participant feedback is immediate. The best way to use it is on a tablet or on a computer rather than a phone. And you will want to leave your browser open during the meeting. Do not, let me say this twice, do not log in more than once on the same device. Do not, let me say this twice, log in with more than one person using the login. Because guess what? If you and your husband, or me and my cats, use the VVoter with one login, multiple people, the last person to vote gets it recorded, and that may not be the one you want. So we have an individual login for each voter that is linked to their membership and to their login. So time to practice, and Mark, you can go ahead and take over the screen and unmute.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. So my name is Mark Veit, and I'm going to give you some instruction on how to use the VVoter portal. And so you should be able to see my screen and a little summary slide. And as Nancy shared, VVoter is a tool that's a browser-based voting tool that works in conjunction with video conferencing equipment. When we do on the date of the delegate voting session, you'll all receive an email in advance, and you'll need to log in to the VVoter portal using your computer, tablet, or a smartphone, and you'll get some instructions in an email. And this is just a sample, but this is actually the code that's going to be used for your meeting. And when you get those instructions to log in to vote, it's pretty simple. So I'm going to show you two methods for logging in to vote tonight. And then we'll have some opportunities to practice later on after today, certainly the day of the meeting, and maybe we'll be able to schedule something else. But it's pretty straightforward. So you'll get this email and you'll click on this link, and The email will also contain your personal code, right? A login ID. It's called a login ID. Those are the two pieces of information you need to be able to vote during the voting session. In this case, today I'm going to use this Jones 123 credential, and your credential will probably be some combination of your last name and some numbers that will be emailed to you. So it'll be somewhat easy for you to remember, hopefully. So you click the link and it will take you to a website, and this will be what you'll see. This is the VVoter web portal. And you'll enter your login ID, which will be on your email that's instructing you on how to vote. So in this case, I'm going to type in Jones1234, which is the credential. And you can see then it's now logged in, and you might see the meeting logo. You might see something else. You might see waiting for presentation to vote. Whatever we're working on at the time with the VVoter portal, that's what will show up on your screen. So you can see it's mirroring the screen that I'm showing right now in Zoom. And so that's it. You'll want to leave this open. You'll want to leave the VVoter webpage open during the entire session when voting is occurring, because whenever a vote comes up, whenever the presiding officer, whenever Nancy calls for a vote, the voting question will come up on this web portal, and you'll answer the question. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a second. So you'll be using it to vote off and on constantly as the meeting goes along. So it's helpful to be able to take Zoom or your web conferencing platform out of full screen mode. And in order to do that, like tonight, you can hit the escape key, and that will allow you to see other windows on your device and on your desktop. So I would recommend that you use a computer if you possibly can use a computer to join the conference and to use VVoter. It's the easiest approach. The second easiest approach to log in and use the VVoter portal to vote is on a tablet. And the third and least preferable method is on your phone. And the reason is that phones go to sleep, and they have you have all kinds of other things, updates happening, Facebook updates and texts and calls and things. And what happens is then the VVoter portal sort of goes to sleep, and it gets pushed off to the side, and it's harder for you to use, and the screen's much smaller. So if possible, we'd recommend that you use a computer or a tablet to log into VVoter and vote. We're going to give you a chance, by the way, in a second to do some questions. The second method, if you're having trouble with the email that you received, is you can go straight to the VVoter.com website, and you can enter this session code. This is the session code for your meeting, and it'll ask you for that first, 206-792-332, and we'll have that in the instructions as well. This is an alternate method of logging in. And then you'll enter your login ID, which is that credential that's personal for you. And don't share that with anyone else. Don't email your credentials or instructions to anyone else, because that'll cause problems for you and for them as well. So keep that just for your use. So that's the login process. So if I go back here, I'm going to show you that as well. So if you go to the VVoter portal, let me pull this up on screen, it's going to look like this. If you go directly to VVoter.com, and you can enter that 9-digit number for your meeting, 206-792, and then 332, and you can click connect, and then it's going to ask you for your login ID. And I'm going to use this. You don't want to use this one. This is a fake one for our training tonight, but you can see that once you're logged in, it'll show you've joined the session, and it'll show you're logged in with your credential, and you're good to go. When you see that, you're good to go to vote during the meeting. Okay, so that's an example. Now, the VVoter system is going to be used for voting on resolutions and bylaw changes, and it's also going to be used for elections. So I'm going to show you some actual examples of how that process will work and what it will look like. So I'm going to bring up a sample here. Let's say we're approving a resolution, or in this case, bylaw amendment 1, just a made up example for a vote. And what you'll see on VVoter, your VVoter screen will change and you'll see a yes and a no opportunity to vote. So this is the title of what will be voted, and on your conferencing platform, you'll actually see the resolution or the item, the other text that's related to the item being considered. And when you're directed by Nancy to go and vote, you'll go to your VVoter web portal and you'll click one of these choices, yes or no, and then you'll click the green vote button, and the system will confirm to you that it's processed your vote. And so it's going to let you know that it's been tabulated. You'll have 30 seconds to vote, and during that 30 seconds, you can change your mind. And so it's whatever the last choice is that you submit, that's what will be recorded as your vote on that particular motion or item. And so that's how it'll work. Now, please be aware that if your system says vote received no, that doesn't mean that your vote wasn't received. It means you voted no on the question. So just be aware that that's can be sometimes for people that are using the system for the first time, it can be confusing. So whenever it says received, it's processed your vote. So then when it's done, we'll actually close the polling and it will update and it will show the results. So in this case, bylaw amendment 1 was not approved because 100% of the voters, which was me tonight, voted against that change. It was no. So it was not adopted. So that's the results will show up right on your VVoter screen. You'll be able to see the tabulated results of the vote. And then it will move on to the next item, and Nancy will call for the next item, and you'll debate that. And there'll be procedural motions that are available as the meeting will proceed just as it normally would in person. So you can make motions and do all the things, procedural motions that you would normally do during a normal parliamentary debate. And we'll have those things available and can immediately jump to them as those motions get made or those items need to be voted on. So that's the process of voting on resolutions and amendments. And then this is an example of the election. So you can see here on the VVoter portal, I've got 3 candidates for the office of president. The actual names will be displayed instead of these candidate A, B, C examples tonight. So you'll make a selection, you'll click the green vote button. It will indicate the name of the person that you've chosen, and that's it. You'll have 30 seconds to vote. When the voting period is done, the result will be tabulated, and then that'll be conveyed to the leadership of the association and will be announced at the appropriate time when the election results are announced. So that's how that process will work. So that's essentially how the VVoter portal is going to work. And I think now the best thing to do is maybe see if you have any questions. Or maybe Nancy or Carol or Leslie, somebody, if I left something out or forgot, you can refresh my memory of something that I might have forgotten.
No, I think you did well. We will be repeating some of this information on convention day. I have a few questions. Hang on. Let me see if I can unmute my friend Laura. So it won't let me unmute people. Okay, Laura, you have a question? It says talking.
Okay, I had to unmute it as well. So we both had to unmute it.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, my question was, and it isn't necessarily about VVoter, it's about the fact that I'm not getting emails. And if this is supposed to come to my email, I will not get it unless you guys can figure out why I'm not getting emails about the convention when I get lots of emails from you about everything else. And I understand there are other people too that are not getting the emails.
Laura, we'll take this offline because right now we're asking questions about VVoter. So we
okay, just wanted to make sure you know.
So this is Laura Mickelson?
Right, yes.
Okay, perfect. We will contact you on a separate basis. I have Penny, and then I have lots of people with questions. Please make sure these are questions about VVoter. Yeah. So we unmute Penny? because it's not letting me unmute anybody. Okay, Peggy? And you're on mute on your end. Peggy,
Can you hear me now?
we can.
Is there going to be an option to abstain?
No, we can set up an option to abstain, I believe. Mark?
You
That's
can,
correct.
yeah.
Yes. We generally either vote yes or no on resolutions. I've been told that I don't ever take an abstention on a resolution.
Okay.
There's a good question I saw in the chat, Nancy, and that is that is there a preferred browser? And the answer is that any recent or current browser should work well for you. The thing that we, meaning within the last 2, 3, 4 years, but if you have an older device, you may run into some browser issues. And there is one version of the Apple browser, the Safari browser, that can cause some issues. That because we're using a push technology to update these web pages on VVoter, you might experience some trouble. There's some versions of Safari, not current ones, but in the last few years that won't work as well. So if you have trouble with your Safari browser, try Chrome or another browser like that.
Firefox or Chrome.
Firefox or Chrome, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Marla has a question. Can you? Marla has a question. For some reason, it won't let me unmute people. I wanted that control and they didn't give it to me. Doggone it. Marla?
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, good. How do we vote for more than one candidate? Because I know it'll say choose 2 or choose 3, and it looked like in the example that we could only vote for 1.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I didn't show an example of that tonight because we didn't want to take things too far in this first phase. But what will happen is, like, you have some committees where you have to make 3 choices from a list of nominees.
Right.
And so when those votes happen, you'll make one selection at a time. It'll present the entire list, and then as a group, we'll enter our first selection. And then for 30 seconds, and then as a group, we'll make our second selection off the list.
So what the hell they
And
did
then
to you and not
we'll
to me?
do our third selection, and that'll be for 30 seconds. So you do it one at a time from the entire list, and then when it's done, it'll tabulate all that information together. And
Okay, great. That
so
explains
you won't be able
Thank you.
you won't be able to overvote. You won't be able to make more than 3 picks. And
Right.
You could possibly undervote if you don't have 3 choices. You could only
It just
vote.
magically appeared.
But that's how
Yeah.
we'll do it. We'll do
But
it one
there's-
choice at a time on those committee selections. That's a
Okay.
good question.
Thank you.
Mark Goff?
Yes, I just want, so Nancy, are we going to use the VVoter during the board meeting?
No.
Oh, okay.
We are going to, well, I'll let the board know that, but we're
Oh, okay.
going to use a different
I just wasn't sure.
product for voting. I wanted to, but it's a budget.
So we're going to do it some other way.
We're going to do it some other way, so I'll let you know how.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And Georgia? And she has to, you have to unmute your.
Whoops.
Yay, Georgia!
I made it. No, I just am trying to make sure that I'm going to be right when I get, to the real thing.
Yay! Yes, you did good.
So you are hearing me.
We are hearing you.
Excellent. Okay, then I'll shut up.
And Connie Curtis had a question.
When you log in with your ID, voter login ID, I believe it said it would show up in the corner or something that you're actually logged in just to verify that you're there?
Yeah, you'll see, if you can see my screen here, I've joined this session and I'm logged in with this ID. So
Okay, thank
you'll
you.
see that, you'll know you're logged in, and that's all you need to, if you're seeing that, you should be good to go. Now, if you're on a phone or a device that might go to sleep and your browser's not maintaining communications with the VVoter servers, and you don't see the voting question come up when Nancy calls for a vote, you can refresh your browser and or reload your browser depending on which browser you're using. But most browsers have a button that looks like this up in the upper right corner for refresh or reload. And so if your voting question doesn't come up when Nancy is called for the vote, you can just refresh it and that should come up. That doesn't happen very often, but there's some browsers that are set that way.
Thank you.
So, Georgia, can you take your hand down? And Connie, can you take your hand down? And Mark Goff, do you have another question, or no, you're good. And Marla as well. Because I'm thinking I have one more question, which is two more. Cricket Gates, and then Carlin is after Cricket.
Are the logins going to be case sensitive?
They are case sensitive, so whatever you receive in the communication is what you need to use. I think what we're going to do, this one example I was using tonight, I shouldn't have done it, but I had a capital, but I think we're going to use all lowercase characters for the name, for the alphabetical characters, and then there'll be numerals. And we try not to duplicate zeros and things that can be confused between alphabetical characters and numbers. So, but it is case sensitive, and it's we'll make sure that all the names are in lowercase. Thanks for asking. That's a good catch.
Carlin, and then Diana, and then Joe Hull. You're on, Carlin. Carlin? You should be on. Oh, Carlin. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Diana Bean. Diana, you should be able to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay. This is kind of an all around question. Is the time period for the convention and all these meetings going to be Mountain Standard Time
Yes.
so that California can adjust to it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Carlin, do we want to try you again? She's on mute on her end. Okay. Joe Hull?
Yeah, I was wondering, on Saturday morning, can we log in immediately at the beginning of the session, or do we have to wait till we start the voting process?
You can log in immediately.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll have the VVoter site up before the Zoom meeting actually begins, so you can log in at your convenience and stay logged in all day.
Yep.
But if you close your browser or you log out, you can just rejoin using the same process. What you don't want to do is open it multiple times on the same device, because then one of those instances might not work correctly. And you don't want to log in with more than one device, as Nancy shared earlier. Just log in once and you should be good to go. And you can't, I saw another question in the chat. Someone asked, can you do the Zoom meeting or the conferencing part and the VVoter on the same device? And the answer is yes. You can go out of full screen mode in Zoom and you can have two windows open simultaneously. That's usually the easiest method. If you stretch them, you can kind of keep it open and see it.
And Cheryl Fulton. You're on. Cheryl? Hi,
That's
Cheryl.
me?
Yes, Cheryl Fulton. Hi, you have a question?
No.
Oh, you had your hand, you raised your hand. So I assumed you had a question.
I didn't think so. Okay.
Okay, okay, you were testing. Carlin, let's try you one more time. And Carlin, all you have to do is talk. You don't have to see the page. If you'd rather type in the question, I can read it and you can, the question, and Danny Thompson has a question. Can you have
I
Zoom?
see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can,
And I-
you can use Zoom on one device and VVoter on another. That's, yeah. Sometimes for some folks that have multiple devices, that's easier.
Yeah, I have an SHCH. I'm not sure who that is.
Oh, it's Sharon Hanks. Mark mentioned logins for the VVoter. How or where are we going to get those login credentials?
They will be sent to you via email.
Okay.
Closer to the 21st. What happens is we have the convention sign up registration. Boy, big words. Registration open until next week, and then we ship everything over to VVoter, and then they generate all the login information, and then we will send it back to you. So you will get it prior to the 21st.
So they will use the email that we have on file with AHA then, correct?
Yes, you use the one that you signed up. Yes. And
okay.
Yep.
Because I used a different email to sign in for Zoom, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on this? So I think VVoter is VVoted. It's a very powerful technology, and I think going forward we will be utilizing it even when we get to spend time with each other. So Charles just saw himself.